What's up, Canes fans? Welcome into another edition of Canes Insight Live. I am your host, Peter Ariz, and we have some big news tonight. Of course, JoJo Trader has committed to Miami. D Money's going to be joining me here shortly. We just did a quick instant reaction podcast that we're going to be posting very soon here. And D Money was all over this one. He said last week, watch out for fireworks in the near future. We didn't know what he was alluding to, but now we know. JoJo Trader, five-star wide receiver out of Chaminade, commits to Miami, the number 25 player in the country, according to the 247 Sports composite rankings. Miami now moving up from the number 21 class in the country to the number 16 class with this addition. And I know a lot of Canes fans have kind of been down about some misses recently on the recruiting trail, but coming off the heels of Marquise Lightfoot, now adding JoJo Trader, so back to back, and you have a Derek Plaz in there as well, who's a very high upside commitment, and I did a good interview with him that we posted this morning. I think if you guys have a chance to watch that, you'll learn a lot about him and why, obviously, his athletic ability at the offensive line spot is something that the coaching staff really fell in love with. But his high character and just high football IQ, I think that's going to take him a long way. Trader is going to be a wide receiver. John Kennedy. Maurice Lewis. This is a guy for next recruiting class, unfortunately. So he's not going to be for the season coming up. But JoJo Trader is a massive get, and I think you're going to see some movement in the next few days as well. Send your questions in here, Canes fans. Big night. Again, as JoJo Trader, D Money alluded to this last week, so I hate to continue to kind of beat our chest on this one, but this was something that I don't think a lot of people saw coming, at least tonight. Miami has been in the driver's seat for Trader for quite some time, and I have D Money that I'm ready to add in here.
What's up, Pete?
D Money, welcome into the show. Been on here for a few minutes, just obviously a lot of reaction already early on in the show from the Canes community. We want to get everyone involved here, send your questions in. And this is, I think, more of a celebratory podcast tonight, D. I know that the emotions have been all over the place if you follow recruiting as a Canes fan recently, but this is a celebration tonight.
No, it's going to be a fun show. 5-star local commit receiver to Miami. I mean, how many times have we said that one? Not very often. Usually those guys are going to Bama, Ohio State, you name it. So it's refreshing. Excited to talk about JoJo Trader, the player. And it's an exciting time for Miami. I think this is going to be the start of a nice run of momentum. That's all I'll say. Stay tuned on Canes Insight. Like and subscribe here. Sign up for the CanesInsight.com forums. I mean, you talk about Canes.Insight at Instagram. Sign up because sooner than later, you're going to see some more, and it's going to start flowing. That's all I'll say. If you guys listened to the podcast or read my post last Thursday, I said in the next week, expect some fireworks on the 7th-day boom. That's what we're giving to you for free on Canes Insight. So make sure you're signed up and make sure you're refreshing. Ignore the wife, ignore work, because these next few days and in general, the timing going forward is going to be exciting. We already got, like I said, 5,000 views, 226 posts on the JoJo Trader commit thread that you posted an hour ago, and it's only going up from there. So, guys, get your questions in. I see there are questions already popping. But,
yeah, and I'm sending it out now on Twitter, so I'm sure we'll get a bunch of people coming on here in the next couple minutes here. So let's just get right to it, I think.
Robin De La Torre, what's the plan for DTs going forward? Seems like we just lost 2 more in Jackson and Stone for sure following. Yeah, I'd say Stone to Oklahoma, but Miami's in the mix for some big timers. Artavius Jones, who's probably my favorite as far as just the athleticism, along with Breland, who's also still in the mix, and then Kamarion Franklin. Miami's doing very well there. He's going to visit for the barbecue at the end of the month. The names I'd keep an eye on there for sure: Artavius Jones, Kamarion Franklin, athletes, DT away. Jones already 300 plus. Aaron Franklin, probably 270, but he's going to be a defensive tackle. There's no question about it. Body type, kind of like a William Joseph type. So expect him to play defensive tackle before it's all said and done. Those are the two names I would watch at that position, and big-time players. Sammy Rebecca Ahmad wants to know what impact does this have on Patterson, meaning Zaquan Patterson, the safety from Chaminade. Obviously, all these guys played for the Miami Gardens youth program, coached by Rod Mack, former Cane. Rod Mack's son, Ryan Mack, corner for St. Thomas Aquinas, is committed. Josiah Trader, wide receiver for Chaminade, just committed, 5-star. Chance Robinson, wide receiver for St. Thomas, committed. Vince Shavers, linebacker for Central, committed. Again, I'm just going over guys from that program. Romanus Frederic, corner from St. Thomas Aquinas, committed. So that leaves two: Zaquan Patterson, Jeremiah Smith. I feel really good about the way things are trending with Jeremiah Smith, with Zaquan Patterson. I think that one could come sooner than later. And with Jeremiah Smith, that'll be a process, with the most important part of the process being the Canes making plays on Saturdays and an offense that he can believe in. They'll make him confident leaving a pretty sure thing deal in Ohio State. He knows if he goes to Ohio State and he does his thing and stays healthy, he'll be a first-round pick. That's the reality. I mean, who can argue with that? The proof's in the pudding. They do it every year, and he's got probably more talent than almost all those guys. So he knows he'll go there and be a first-round pick if he stays healthy and works. That's a fact. We got to show him that path. He wants to be a Miami. He's a Miami fan. He was tweeting during Miami games last year. He was watching the worst season ever. Who would watch that season unless you were a fan? It wasn't exactly entertaining. So put product on the field, land 5 of his teammates from the young age, 2 of his high school teammates, and give them every reason to come. And I think we'll have a great shot at the end. But Zaquan Patterson, I think that one could be sooner than later.
You had a thread on the website today about realistic goals, right, in terms of recruiting. And you alluded to it there. It's not just about a number. Everyone keeps asking, how many wins do they need to finish with the right recruiting class? My response is, and you had a similar, wording on your post, is it's got to be a watchable product. It's got to be something exciting to get behind. You made the comparison to a 2016 season where at the end of the year, you knew things were on the uppity upper. You felt that way at least. So if you want to just kind of expand on your post a little bit.
Yeah. So in terms of the season, everybody asks me numbers. We need to have a season that has people believing in the program, meaning fans and outsiders, that you look at it, you look at the way we've played, and at the end of the season, you say, this is a program going in the right direction. What the number is hard to say. I'll give you a comparison. You said 2016, which was a great example. 1999, someone mentioned in the thread I posted. Let me find who said that, because I thought that comparison was dead on. 1999 was a season where the number at the end of the year, it was a stupid 311. That was not a stupid post. He was actually dead on. Anyways, that was a good comparison, because the number, if you look at the 1999 end record, it wasn't great. 2016 was not a great end record, but the way it ended, the way you could see the talent coming together, got you excited. I'll give you a flip comparison. 2013, Miami had a pretty good record because they started off, whatever it was, they beat Florida. But the way they finished, people were wanting Golden to go to Penn State. They were like, they knew it was going the wrong direction. And just the way we were getting beat by Duke and teams like that. If at the end of the season, Canes fans and Vegas, just commentators, other teams' fans are like, wow, Miami's doing something. The way they're playing the right brand of football. They got a lot of young talent. It's exciting to watch. They're physical. They're moving guys up front. That's what we need. It's hard to describe. Is it 8 wins? Is it 9 wins? It's not so much the record, it's how we look. So I think the goal is that, and I think everyone's going to know that when they see it. I said in the thread, and I listed how many top 100 players Miami's landed over the years. Usually it's about 1 to 3. You had 6 a few years ago. You had 3 last year. Manny's last year, his big recruiting class with Leonard Taylor and Garcia and James Williams. You had 3. Very rarely you'll get more than that in the 247 era. I think the goal for Miami, you have 3 right now. You have JoJo Trader, the highest rated guy. I think he's 25th on the composite. You got Marquise Lightfoot, who's high in the composite. I think he's like 60 something. And then you also have Kevin Riley, who's 70th nationally as a player overall. So you have 3. That's a good start. You want to add to that the names I'd watch. Guys we just talked about. Zaquan Patterson's on that list. Chris Cole, the linebacker out of Virginia, is on that list. Good momentum with him. Kamarion Franklin, the defensive tackle out of Mississippi, Memphis area, right there on that border. Watch him. I'd say those 3, and then Trader just committed. So that was I said 3 to 4. He was the 4th guy. So those 3 are the ones I'd be zeroing in on as far as adding top 100 players. But there's players beyond the top 100 that Miami's looking to add that can be impactful for the team.
U-Town, you say that when you go to 247, JoJo's a 4-star. He's a 5-star on the 247 composite rankings, which again, it really is the standard to use because it averages out all of the rankings across the board from all the websites. So he's the number 25 player overall there, and that's what we're going to use, and that's what pretty much most people look at when you look at the rankings.
Yeah, look at No Smoke 2 saying D Money's on time today. It must be a big day. It is a big day. I told the wife put the kids to bed. I had to go outside so you wouldn't hear them chirping. So if you hear parrots, techno music, this is Miami Beach. I don't know what you're going to be hearing outside here. It's wild out here, but we're doing it because we had to talk about this commitment, a huge commitment because of the position. How many local guys with this kind of rating have left? And then we're talking about bags. We're talking about street agents and handlers, and we're making all kinds of excuses. Now we got him in the boat. So this is a huge commitment. Corey, the $1 Million Man DiBiase, wants to know what does the cornerback names we should look out for in the next coming months. I'll tell you, corner is the position I'm most worried about. I don't love how that's shaping up. One name I'm told to keep an eye on is Xavier Mincy out of Daytona Beach. A lot of people have predicted him to Florida, to the Gators. I'm told Miami's right in that mix. Florida State is right in that mix, and they have as good a shot or better than the Gators. So he's somebody you want to watch out for as far as potential corner, which Miami could play him anywhere, but I think corner's a place that he could go. Neil B wants to know what's the news on Stone. I wouldn't expect Stone. I think Oklahoma for him, at least for now. He's the kind of guy you can flip. That's a momentum deal. And Miami's going to take any defensive tackle they can get. They're not going to fill up at that position. There's no such thing as filling up. They're still going to recruit Stone and work that one. They have a long relationship there. But if I had to guess right now, I'd say Stone, Oklahoma, his teammate Jaden Jackson, and close friend just committed there.
How about our old friend Tito Banach in the comments section? Would love to have him on the stream one day.
Yeah, I saw Tito.
If he's ever tired of talking USF football. One
of his tweets popped up in the NBA draft. I was watching the broadcast on ESPN. They had a Tito Banach tweet pop up about Jaime Jaquez. I guess he didn't want him to get drafted by the Heat. So, he missed on that one. But usually he's pretty right on the money. Let's Show Me the Money wants to know the latest on Artavius Jones. I like our chances with him. So, I think he's a great player. I think Miami's in the driver's seat. Is he going to stretch his commitment out, or is he going to stretch his recruitment out, and go on a tour of the SEC and the ACC? He's up there in the Panhandle, or is he going to commit sooner than later? We'll see. I think Miami's doing great work on that commitment.
This guy's face just lit up at the question that he's about to answer.
Oh, well, what's the latest on Damian Lillard?
Yeah.
My work productivity has suffered tremendously, so hopefully he comes to the Heat. We got to keep. To me, you got to keep Jovic. I'm getting Turkaloo vibes, Detlef Schrempf vibes. You can't. You got to find a way to keep Jovic because that's he's got the Serbian passing gene. The guy's going coast to coast, drawing fouls, bulked up. Youngest player in the league last year, younger than the one and dones. Keep Jovic, acquire Lillard somehow, whatever you got to do, and that's a successful offseason for the Heat. Canes Cats Heats 305 wants to know, am I hearing anything on the 2 remaining coaches for baseball? A lot of rumors swirling. Let me send a text right now and see what the latest.
I'll say this: don't forget the coaches when I answer your question, but I think the biggest thing right now is retaining the roster as best as they can. You've already lost Ligon to Mississippi State. He announced his commitment today. And I know there's a few other guys who are kind of on the fence here. So to me, that's the biggest thing, D.
Yeah, but
You
transfer
got you
portal, it
got
goes
big
both
news
ways.
today. Got big news today with the third baseman who got drafted by the Pirates, decided to sign with Miami, go
Yeah,
through
and
with
I'll
his.
let me give you the scouting report right here from a unnamed former Cane great on the third baseman that just decided to stay. Let's see. Just scanning through the group chat. Got a lot of like Sofia Vergara picks and things of that nature. Good player, crazy pop, bit of a slow bat, but projects well. So let's see how that goes at the third base. That's from an anonymous inside baseball source, Cane legend. So DB wants to know, what's the plan for a Jakari redshirt? Perfect World TVD stays healthy all year, but I wouldn't put money on that. The offensive line improvement will help TVD staying healthy all year. I think in a perfect world, like you said, Jakari would redshirt. They're trying to change the rules so it's 6 games for a redshirt. I don't know what the status of that is, but that would obviously help the ability to redshirt him. But I think with Jakari, he's the future internally. They think this guy is the man. They love him, Emery too, but they're big on Jakari. I am as well, probably more than most. But a lot of love for Jakari. These guys can improve their passing. I was a big Jordan Travis fan. You go back to 2017, whenever he was coming out, a long time ago. He's an older player. And I was the biggest Jordan Travis fan around. He looked pretty bad and like he couldn't throw for several years. And I was, questioning whether I should ask the Moss to delete the thread so it wouldn't come back to bite me. But the guy ended up being a great player. He developed and he used his running threat, his playmaking instincts, and improved his passing natural arm. In. So I think Jakari's got a bright future. They would like to redshirt him. They don't want to just use him in packages and burn his redshirt that way. But we'll see. Obviously, if TVD gets hurt, you're going to need somebody, and he's a guy right there. He's a guy right there. Jakari. He's not someone that they're afraid to play. Let's put it that way. Redshirting him is not about his readiness. It's more about, can we benefit him and do what's best for him?
The quick question, because it's a question that comes up every week, and you actually had an update on the website you posted a few days ago on our good friend Zion Nelson, who, again, every week people ask for updates, and those have been few and far between. It's been hard to get any real concrete information on him. But you posted something on the website the other day, if you want to elaborate on it.
Yeah, I asked directly, and I'm hearing the expectation is that Zion Nelson will be full go for camp. I heard he's moved. They're moving around, so it's not like they're doing full patch practices, but they're moving around, and I heard he looks phenomenal. And I think the expectations internally before it was more wait and see. Now it's he should be the left tackle for the Hurricanes when they take the field. Obviously, something. Who knows what happens in camp if there's setbacks, but I think it's not like he's 70% there and they're projecting to be 100%. I think he's closer to 100 now. Maybe not 100, and they're still working it out on the field and confidence and all those kind of things. But I think he's further along than maybe I thought he would be. And there's a lot of expectation that he will be our starting left tackle from day one. Arabian Knight wants to know, any chance Brandon Inniss transfers if Hartline goes to Northwestern? Yes. Now, is Hartline going to go to Northwestern? I don't know. But Inniss is a guy very similar to Jeremiah Smith. He wanted to be a Hurricane. The money was definitely there for Brandon Inniss. He could not trust what we were selling. You can't blame him when you make a comparison, just being honest. If you're a wide receiver, you can't blame him. Business decision. It's like a kid going to Harvard, or a kid going somewhere else, to Florida State or something like that. So we couldn't really compete at that time. Got to show. But Brandon work out from Ohio. Chris Ball always talking to be the worst thing in the world in recruiting. Now it's not so bad. Tyreek Stevenson, you finish second at Georgia. He swings back. You get 2 years of an excellent NFL type corner. So keep your eye on Brandon Inniss. I think that's something to watch for sure. But someone just said Northwestern promoted from within. I didn't see that. But that's I didn't see Hartline for that job. But he'll be on the way soon. I don't see him staying forever. Julian Sutton wants to know, is JoJo and Chance, does that open the door for you on Jeremiah Smith? We talked about it. Absolutely. I think we got to show stuff on offense. Give me one.
Harrell or Kirk? There's one here asking about Harrell or Kirk, who has the bigger impact. I like Harrell to have a bigger impact.
Yeah, I think Harrell's role, he's like the only guy that does it, as far as that speed element. So he has a defined role that he brings that no one else really does at that receiver room. Maybe Robbie Washington, but Robbie Washington is more of a ball in the hand speed guy. Harrell's more of a run by you guy. So I think he brings that element. He doesn't bring as much of the other stuff. He's kind of a one-trick pony, or at least he has been to this point in his career. But it's a good trick. Look how long Ted Ginn lasted in the NFL. He might still be in the NFL. Ted Ginn was in the NFL, like 15 years?
Well, I mean, look, yeah, he was. You look at a guy like, I guess he might have been a similar thing with Marquise Goodwin's still in the league too.
Right. So Harrell's a one-trick pony. It's a good trick. I think he will probably make a bigger impact. Kirk, heard he looks good, but he's competing with Jacoby George. And Jacoby George is a guy, when motivated, is probably the most talented receiver. So Kirk pushes him, and that's the best thing Kirk does, is push George to be the impact guy alongside Colby Young and Restrepo. But maybe George slips, and Kirk gives us that. So that's why you bring in competition. That's why you bring in a guy like Kirk, is to have some competition at that flanker position.
Canes Cats Heat asking about Ligon leaving after we promoted his coach. I think he was going to leave before that decision, and most of those transfer decisions are made before the coaching decision went down. So,
right. Steven Avea wants to know Jared Harrison Hunt this season. I mean, I like Jared Harrison Hunt, always have since we signed him, but it's been up and down. The weight hasn't come on like you hoped it would. He never got out. He never became that 300-pounder that you would like him to see, like that real athletic 300-pounder, probably more in that 280 range tweener. So I think if he has a chance, but there's a lot of competition in that room. I think when you see a Branson Dean from Purdue come in, an undersized, productive guy who's been in the Big Ten, beating Big Ten offensive linemen, that's a direct signal to Jared Harrison Hunt, like, hey, listen, we're not counting on you. Not that they don't think he can play, but, we're not just saying you're locked in that spot and there's no competition. It's we are putting that player in there to compete with you for playing time. What are you going to do about it? He has the talent to step up and be right there with Dean and start next to Taylor, or get significant snaps, play and or tackle. But he's similar to Jacoby George, where a lot of pressures on him to take that next step. I think he has talent. A question about, is that transfer from Nebraska going to play this season? Yes. Running back A.J. Allen. Big expectations for him. You don't see the running backs in pads until camp, so it's hard to say, but they love him. If you watch him at Nebraska, he was trending to be their starting running back as a true freshman. Got injured in the Oklahoma game where he was really playing well and was poised to go into Big Ten play as a starter coming off that game, but he got hurt. Question about Mark Fletcher. How's he looking? Go watch on Instagram or YouTube, and maybe we'll post this on Twitter. We'll post this on CanesInSight. Him doing the backflip, looking like a gymnast, and he's huge. You just watch the pictures of him. He's 6'2", jacked, long arms. Not overly big that he can't move around. Obviously, he's still doing backflips. Hard worker. I talked to one very prominent player on the team who says, that's the guy. When the pads come on, that's going to be the guy that's the bell cow. And I've heard that from people inside the Hecht as well, that the expectation is that by the end of the season, he might be the starter. Now, there were similar expectations for Trevante Citizen. He got hurt, obviously, so they got to do it. But I would not be surprised if it ends up being Fletcher number 1, A.J. Allen number 2, Parrish number 3, obviously subject to to injury and everything else.
Canes Cats Heat asking if we're just taking Riley this year. Remember, Chris Wheatley Humphreys in the class as well at the running back spot, who brings the speed element that Chris Johnson is bringing this year.
Yeah, I would say that Wheatley Humphrey. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, I misunderstood you. Absolutely. Wheatley Humphrey, similar to Chris Johnson, also a Broward back, super productive, more productive really than Chris Johnson was as a junior. Chris Johnson as a senior, it all came together with the speed. I don't know if Wheatley Humphrey's as fast in a straight line, although he flies too. Chris Johnson's rare speed, elite in the nation. But Wheatley Humphrey's super fast, but then the shiftiness is just off the charts. Let's see. Do we grab another tight end? Yes, that's possible. They'll still work the guys that have gone elsewhere, but I don't think it's like a major urgent priority. They wanted Caleb Odom, who's still in the picture, but probably going to go to Alabama, and they wanted Davon Mitchell, who went to Oklahoma, because those guys are big-time players. They don't just need a guy. They have Jackson Carver, Riley Williams, who's a major talent, Elijah Lofton in this class, who's going to play a lot and does a lot of things. So they have good tight ends. They don't necessarily need somebody, especially when you're going to be spreading it out more with this system. But big-time players, they're always interested.
We have right now, we have, I think, about 190, almost 200 on here. So this is about the most we've had on these live shows. So now that we have everyone on here, we haven't really gotten into JoJo Trader as the player. We have the instant pod coming out, should be coming out sometime tonight, that we'll get into it. But for everyone on here now, we talked a little bit about the impact on the recruiting class moving forward. Obviously, big time momentum should come along with this. But as a player, D, is he a guy who can make an impact right off the bat? At 5-star, you expect him to. But how good is this guy?
So sophomore year is when he really jumped on the map, at least for me. He completely cooked Damari Brown, who's now in Miami, Jacoby Spells, who's at West Virginia and had a great freshman year, both from American Heritage for long touchdowns. This was his sophomore year when he was at Miami Central. Had an interception to the crib in the state championship game. Just a two-way talent. Watched him transferred next to Jeremiah Smith, and he still looked very good. Obviously, he's a 5-star, but I thought looked better as a sophomore. I was starting to think maybe this guy's a corner as his best position. Then he goes to Legends Camp and completely dominates. Routes, the whole nine. Starting to fill out his frame. He's a tall, lanky, 6'1", kind of skinny guy. Starting to fill out. And I got people really excited about his upside. Sorry, I got a plane flying over if you hear. But really got people excited about his upside at that camp. And they already knew he was good, but he's better than they thought. And the thought process was just watching him. This guy, and again, this is what it was told to me by people who would know, this guy could play for us, meaning Miami Hurricanes right now, based on what he showed in the indoor practice facility. And that's an apples to apples comparison, because these guys see what it looks like in that facility when it's not a camp. So yes, instant impact guy. I think definitely wide receiver. The corner talk I'm not seeing as much after what he did in camp and just the progression he's making. His game, I think on the low end, I would say a Herb Waters would be my comparison. On the, everything goes right and the guy ends up being a superstar, DeAndre Hopkins. And again, 6'1", lanky, long arms, skinny, but he'll fill out a little bit. Good quickness in and out of his breaks. He's not going to run a 4.4, probably more 4.5. But what really separates him is when the ball's in the air, his ability. This is why the Hopkins part comes in. The ability to adjust to the ball, to track it, and to contort his body to make the play. He's not just going to jump over guys always necessarily, but at the last second, boom, he'll change positions just like Hopkins. Hopkins will be no separation. The guy will be right on his hip. Ball gets there at the last second. He makes a subtle adjustment, catches the ball. That to me is what Trader does as good as anybody in this class. That's his specialty, and he's been doing it since he was a kid.
Derek Jenkins asking about Don Chaney. Is he going to get any playing time? I think 100% he is. I mean, I think that trio, Parrish, AJ Allen, Don Chaney, and obviously you have Chris Johnson coming in as the freshman who could bring an element and probably do some things on special teams as well. But you would have loved to have 3-4 healthy running backs for Miami last year, right? So,
yeah, and Chaney, I should mention, in spring he flashed a lot. I think people want to see just availability with him. It's hard to say he's going to be in the mix when so many times you expected him to be that guy and an injury happens or what have you. So does he have the talent to do it? Obviously, he's gotten huge. He was very explosive in spring. Fletcher's going to push him, but maybe this is the year, like Damian Berry. Remember Damian Berry, how he had that year after everybody counted him out, and he ended up being a major contributor to the Canes. I think he was on the Baltimore Ravens Super Bowl team on the practice squad and was really a great player for the Canes, short yardage beast. Something like that where you kind of count him out, and that's when he blows up. Obviously, I want that for him. He's a Belen grad, smart, A-plus intangibles, and he's got a lot of physical tools as well. But I think he's a guy that people have counted on so many times and been let down just because of his body, his injuries, that they're hesitant to go all in with him. But if he's there and he's playing, absolutely he's got a chance to play. One question about, which I thought was a great from me, Junior, what does Trader need to work on? Because we always talk about, get excited about what they can do. I think what he needs to work on is just strength and conditioning, body, getting bigger, getting stronger, getting more explosive. I think he has natural explosiveness, but he's got more in him than he's shown. Sometimes you see with these guys from, Northwest Miami, from he's at a private school now, but sometimes when they're not in these major league, high resource weight rooms and nutrition programs, that there's more meat on the bone, to use a weird pun, to get bigger, right? To get stronger, faster, and all that, than maybe a kid from New Jersey that they're in basically a college weight room from the time that they're 12 years old. I think it's a little different with these local kids. They just don't have the resources available. And when things become even, the talent, the IQ, the toughness, all that stuff starts to separate because the strength and conditioning becomes equal. That's what I would say.
How about we give a shout out to Kevin Beard, obviously the wide receiver coach, coming back to Miami this year, his second stint. And you got to give him some credit for this one. Obviously, he has the Broward connections there, and you got to imagine that he was a big part of this.
Yeah, I mean, he's brought in to recruit, right? And he knows some of these guys from 7-on-7. Josiah Trader plays on South Florida Express, which is where Kevin Beard, I think, coached several years ago. So that's the connection. So he's got, Trader, Chance Robinson. That's a pretty good place to start. Top 50 player, top 150 player, local guys. That's a great way to build this class. So we'll see where it goes. Lawayne McCoy is a name that I think Miami would take out of Central, who is kind of like Josiah in terms of being a two-way player. Who is he, a corner? Is he a receiver? Who knows? I think he probably needs even more physical development than Trader would need, but he's a name to watch as potential add-on to this class. And then, of course, Jeremiah Smith. That goes without saying.
Someone's asking what Mark Pope ranking was out of high school, and it was...
I don't want to know.
He was the number 67 player nationally, whereas Trader's the number 25 player, using, again, apples to apples with the 247 composite ranking. And he was number 11 wide receiver. And I believe Smith is 5.
And I think the difference is
Trader.
I think if you're comparing Pope to Trader, Pope was faster. Pope was a 10-6 100-meter kid, returning punts to the house. So Pope was faster. But I think in every other attribute you would give it to Trader. Taller, better coordination with the ball in the air, just better in and out of his breaks. Pope had some weird stiffness to him. I thought he'd be quicker than he was. That's probably the biggest misconception I had about Pope coming in. I thought he was going to be a lot quicker than he was as far as in and out of his breaks, just because he's a local guy. He's a punt returner. It was his short area quickness did not translate to the field for whatever reasons. Maybe some of that was attention to craft and route running. So I think Trader's ahead of Pope in all those categories. And Pope also plays both ways, which is a sign of his football playing ability. You didn't necessarily see that Trader plays both ways. You didn't necessarily see that with Pope as far as being a two-way player, more of a football player, I would say Trader. Pope was, returning kick straight line or just going on bomb straight line, or maybe getting a screen and going straight line. There was not a lot of variability to what he was doing. I think there's much more sophistication to the offense you're seeing in Chaminade and Central and what Trader's doing. That would be how I would compare the two. But listen, I thought Pope was going to be good too. I think then what I missed on Pope, the age, he was old for his class, the inability to translate what seemed to be good lateral quickness into his route running. And then, I've been saying it, wide receiver is a professionalism position. You got to work on your game constantly when people aren't looking. Look at the NFL and tell me how many of those guys are physical freaks. The only true guy that I think gets by on his freakishness is Metcalf. And Metcalf works harder than anybody. So there aren't that many guys playing receiver that are just freaks of nature, and that's it. They're craftsmen. They're your Justin Jeffersons. They're your Cooper Kupps. They're your Devontae Adams. That's what plays. And I think Trader has the ability to be, I'm not saying Pro Bowl, whatever. He has the ability to be a receiver that can get open and catch the ball very efficiently. if he has that commitment to his craft, he has a very, very, very high upside.
D, talking about LaWayne McCoy, Andrew Farrelly just tweeted out. LaWayne McCoy shares a picture of himself on that Miami Gardens team shortly after his teammate JoJo Trader committed to Miami. So
I
keep
should
talking
amend,
about the,
because we hadn't even been talking about that connection either. So I screwed up on the reaction pod in here, as far as I didn't even mention LaWayne McCoy and his connection to these guys going way back. So he's another one.
I don't know if you can see it. This is a tweet right here.
So that's another one as the pieces come together. So I gotta fix that reaction pod. But yeah, that's another one. And I think he's someone that Miami would take his commitment right away. Receiver, DB, I don't know. PC wants to know, is this going to be Northwestern 2.0? It's funny. You go back and look at that Northwestern class, talk about the 2008 Northwestern class where we signed a ton of guys from the same school. The problem wasn't that we signed all those Northwestern guys. It's that we didn't sign enough, because the ninth one was an all-pro, Levante David. We should have signed more of them, you know?
That guy might be Vincent Shavers this year.
It could be, but it shows you. It wasn't even that we, like, same thing with receiver. That year they were like, are we signing too many Dade County receivers? We should have signed one more because we missed T.Y. Hilton, you know? So take these guys. Figure out the rest later. That's my thought.
Well, and thank you for clarifying, PC, because we don't want this to be Northwestern 2.0, the other Northwestern.
After Miami Northwestern. Yeah, Miami Northwestern.
Yeah.
Arabian Night wants to know, why are we after Cedric Bailey at quarterback? It's a good question, and Bailey's a big dude, 6'5", super productive, throwing to Trader and Jeremiah Smith. Obviously, he's got great receivers at Chaminade. Committed to NC State. He kind of reminds me of Jacoby Brissett, who is from Palm Beach Dwyer, so another South Florida quarterback. I'm a big believer in South Florida quarterbacks. You look at 6 started in the NFL last year: Lamar Jackson, Teddy Bridgewater, Geno Smith, who had a great year, Mike White from the Jets and now the Dolphins, Tyler Huntley from the Ravens, and Brissett. Did I say that right? So 6. And then you have in the NFL draft projected for next year, and just guys that are stud college players, top 10 college quarterbacks: Jordan Travis from Palm Beach Benjamin, and Michael Pratt, who's in Boca Raton, and then later at Deerfield Beach. So South Florida is producing quarterbacks every single year, and they're not going to the Miami Hurricanes. So if you ask me my opinion, I think we should be taking one of these South Florida quarterbacks as the second quarterback in the class, just as a rule. They're not going to scare anybody away. They're going to come and compete, and you can get a lot out of them. Now, is it Cedric Bailey? Is it Michael Merdinger? There's a bunch of guys this year that are very tall and talented. I have not seen these guys up close enough to say. I have to make my rounds here when the season starts. And then, also there's intangible stuff that the quarterback coaches should be doing the research on. But they're local. So these guys should have the best. You should have the best intel on all these local guys. My opinion, take a South Florida quarterback. If they got the height, they're 6'2" or above, and they're, Power 5 talents, they usually pan out. Go through the years. Those guys usually pan out. 6 in the pros, 2 on the way. None of them went to Miami. That's a problem.
Like and subscribe, Canes fans. Like and subscribe. We haven't said it enough this show, D.
You're right. Now you remember it. Now you're the guy.
We got to take advantage. We're over 200, man. We appreciate the support everyone has been showing. I know we got big news tonight, so that's part of it, but this is just a glimpse of what we do every Thursday. We bring different guests on. Brad Tejeda is a frequent guest. Shout out Brad, who tweeted it out, and we, the numbers went up big time after he posted it. So appreciate you as always, Brad. And
we're always looking for people to add. So if you think you got some goods to jump on, listen, hit up Peter or CanesInSight on Twitter, on social media, or Instagram or whatever, and let us know. DB wants to know, summer barbecue coming up. Any whales coming through? Keep an eye on Kamarion Franklin. He from Memphis side of Mississippi, defensive tackle, top 50 player in the nation, top 30 depending who you ask. Big body, defensive tackle all the way, super talented, very productive. I think he had like 17 sacks or something in Mississippi. Love the kid. I like where Miami's going with that direction with him. So, yeah, and just in general, guys to keep an eye on. I mentioned a few at the top as far as, Octavius Jones, Zaquan Patterson, Chris Cole. Another one I would watch out for as far as someone that we're working on that's committed elsewhere, Elias Rudolph, Michigan commit. Miami's going to keep working there. I don't think Miami's going to just say go to Michigan. They're going to keep working on him. He's in Deerfield Beach. He's originally from Cincinnati, I believe. So he's naturally a Midwest guy. But if he's there, Miami's going to keep working him. They think he's got a lot of talent as a pure pass rusher, kind of in that Cyrus Moss mold. Pete just put in the link in the YouTube for the CanesInSight Shopify. Get yourself a CanesInSight hoodie, shirt, all kinds of slogans from the board. 15-0, Green Shirt All-American, all kinds of different board slogans are on there. And plus, there's the natural CanesInSight shirt, high quality. We spent a lot on the quality. Got pretty much the best quality we can afford while still making a little profit. But I mean, we ate a lot of the profits on quality just because we want you guys to be looking good. So check out the link, CanesInsight.myshopify.com. Arabian Night. What about TL Cunningham from Central? Is he a take? I think they want to see him up close a little more. I don't think he's played enough or shown enough. Similar to Jamari Howard, this the corner who's highly rated. He's a top 100 player. I think he transferred to Central from Hialeah Westland. I want to say he's originally from the Bahamas. He's a track guy. Hasn't played as much football. They want to see these guys and see what they got. So that's one to keep an eye on. Let's see what else we got, Pete. Don't be shy. I've seen a lot of
people asking questions. I was going to shout out Isaiah Wong's performance last night in the Summer League. I know you watched that pretty closely.
Super athletic, right? I mean, Pete, I know you're the biggest Canes basketball fan I know. The thing that jumped out to me was how athletic he looked against NBA players, Summer League players, but, a higher level of athlete, and how good he looked in the open space because it was so cramped for him in college. Seemed a lot more with opening up the game in NBA. I thought he looked very much at home and very athletic.
Yeah, he's a combo guard, and I think sometimes when, like you said, the transition game for him has always been, I think, a strength for him, and that's more so what the NBA game is. So you saw a lot of spread half-court offense at Miami, but now his ability to get up and down the floor, I think, especially as a guy who could bring a spark off the bench, right? I mean, and if his three-point shot continues to improve the way that we've seen it improve, we know he's a worker. He's a 4-year guy, so he's a veteran in a sense coming into the league. Not a veteran, he's a rookie now, but the learning curve shouldn't be as high. So I'm excited to see what he does.
Yeah, no, excited to watch him. And by the way, I apologize for the sweat. I'm sweating like a preacher now. It's hot outside. So some question I want to get to here. Carl Davis has been asking about the DT transfer from Louisiana Monroe. Anthony Campbell, who's been on the pod, you can go back and look at some of the old episodes, was a great interview. Will he play? Yeah, I think so. And he's got 2 years. So I think he's a guy that's still developing, originally from Jamaica, still raw, but super talented, 6'7", heavy, fast, high motor. He chased down guys against Texas. I think that play alone got him a lot of offers. So he's got size, speed, raw talent. They want to develop him. But I think he'll definitely play on the road next year. He might play, meaning 2024. You might really see him make a leap. Question about me junior wants to know TJ Capers from Columbus. What's the story there? I heard he was just not a take for a lot of big programs, including Miami. I don't know if the word around him from people locally was that good as far as just he plays and maybe some of the work ethic stuff. And tweener questions. Is he a linebacker? Is he a defensive end? He was highly rated because of his speed and size, verified speed and size. But I think there's a question as to whether he's long enough to be a defensive end, whether he's instinctual enough to be a linebacker, the lateral movement of a linebacker. I think Louisville's a great place for him because they have a lot of guys like that. Yasir Abdullah from Carroll City, one of those. So I think Louisville's a perfect place for him to play that role, just be a disruptor. I could see him having a lot of success. He just reclassified. He'll be class of 2023. Question from new person here. One wants to know any word on how Emory Williams is picking up the offense. I heard he's doing great, smart. Dawson really likes him. You saw him in spring; he looked pretty good. Better than I thought, as from an arm strength standpoint. I thought he was going to be much more of a dart, of a soft tosser, crafty kind of guy. But he has pretty good zip, and he's got great size. Great fundamentally, well coached, coming in clean, and super smart and works hard. So Emery Williams is better than expected. My concern is always the athleticism with him. When the bullets are flying, is he going to be able to elude? But he shows some real good footwork in the pocket in his high school clips. That's going to be the differentiator for him. If he can elude the first free rusher, he's got a lot of talent. He's 6'4", he's heavy, he's got clean mechanics, he's got a good arm, an accurate arm, and he's super smart and hardworking.
Well, in terms of picking up the offense too, something that stuck out to me during the spring was when Jakari Brown said that I guess Emery would either wake him up, or if he was up and Emery hadn't woken him up, he knew that he was late, something like that. I forget what it was, but the point is, Emery Williams was in there early and often in that building, and he already, like you said, he has the smarts to do it. So those are just great signs when it comes to picking up a playbook.
Absolutely, and a good anecdote. And Jameer Webb wants to know who emerges as our go-to DB. Obviously, that's Cam Kitchens for all of them. Corner, I'd say Devontae Brown from UCF, the transfer. He's old, he's long, he's experienced, NFL talent, as Pete's reported numerous times from scouts. So he'd be the corner. But obviously, DB, Cam Kitchens, first-team All-America. Todd Jones wants to know, did D-Money's girl kick him out of the house? Yeah, pretty much. She didn't want me. Look, it was more. It was a mutual decision. I didn't want the kids jumping in on the podcast, and they had to go to sleep. So she said, "Why don't you do it outside?" I said, "No problem." I don't know. Maybe that was a plan. Who knows? Maybe the door might be locked when I try to get back in. But yeah, I got kicked out here. Oh, we got Eric says Jeremiah Smith just tweeted out a Miami Gardens Ravens photo. Is happening. I think I'll tell you right now, we're feeling good. If Miami has a top 30 season on offense, I'm talking about equivalent to what Lashley did, and they win, let's say 9 games, I think Jeremiah Smith's a Cane. So we'll say it like that, okay? Because everybody likes predictions, so you'll say it like that. Arabian Night, why is everyone so high on Dawson? If his only, his only Power 5 experience calling plays, he shit the bed at Kentucky. Need to see if he improved. Listen, it's a good point. It's a very fair point because Kentucky was ugly. I would compare him to Rhett Lashley. Rhett Lashley was kind of the new guy under Malzahn, just like Dawson was the new guy under what's the guy from Houston? Dana Holgorsen at West Virginia. Dawson goes to Kentucky, fails. Lashley went to Auburn as a play caller and really failed and kind of got a bad rap. Then he kind of rebuilds his name. Really, Lashley starts putting up super explosive offenses under Sonny Dykes, head coach of Texas Christian, now TCU was at Southern Methodist at the time. That's when Lashley blew those top 10 offenses. Dawson puts up top 10 offenses under Holgorsen. Same question. Hey, is it him or is it the head coach? Because last time he was offensive coordinator, he failed. Turned out he went to Miami, meaning Lashley, and tore it up. I'm not saying Dawson was guaranteed to do that just because Lashley did, but a very similar track if you compare it. Ocala Kane. I'm actually going to head up to Ocala soon, visit my cousin, go bass fishing. What do you say? He wanted to know what recruit is most likely to commit next. I'm going to have to bite my tongue on that one. I'll just say keep refreshing CanesInSight.com. If you're not signed up, sign up. Keep refreshing. Sooner than you think, there'll be a commit, I think. Me Jr., offensive tackle prospect we're looking at. I think Trent might be the way we fill that position. But you still look, you got McCoy that can play tackle. You got Sampson, obviously, who's going to be there for a long time, a fixture at left tackle. You have Malgoa is going to be a fixture at tackle. Ines Cooper can also play tackle. People look at him as a guard because that's when he broke into the lineup. But really, he was a tackle all through camp, him and McCoy, and they were great on that second team. I was talking about them on this podcast all the time. It's like, hey, guys, this is like the story at camp to me is these second-team tackles are holding up. Cooper ended up playing guard because that's where they needed him, but he can play tackle, especially now that he's lost some weight. So I think they're going to be okay at tackle going forward. Plaz, check him out on the Canes Insight podcast. He had a great interview with Pete. He's a good one to get, but I don't think they'll take some guy if someone jumps on the board. And they just, that's a developmental position. Maybe somebody as a senior that was a tight end before or was something else grows into a tackle and they say, wow, we want this dude. This dude's blowing up, and they offer him and get him late. I can see that scenario. I could also see a transfer scenario with offensive line in general.
AB, we did mention Don Chaney, and we spoke about him for a couple minutes, but definitely think he's going to be a guy who makes an impact.
Yeah, man, these bugs are going crazy. You can see them on the live, man. You see all these bugs.
We'll be wrapping up here in the next 10
it's
minutes.
good. I can talk. Like I said, I'm probably locked out of the house. Silo Kane wants to, and with Cheney, look, everybody knows how talented he is. He looked great in spring. Is not, every time you get excited about him, he gets hurt. So people are just kind of waiting and seeing on him. But if he's out there the first few games making big runs, being huge, running people over, showing his speed, he'll be right there in the mix. The opportunity is there for Cheney. I hope he takes it because we all know he has the talent and he has the IQ. Tim wants to know, is OL recruiting going to be weak this cycle since Sampson and Francis are locked to start early? I think that's going to be a factor with guys like a Brandon Baker, those big-time guys, but there's just not that many big-time offensive linemen. It's a down position. They spent money last year because that's where the money is. So, D-line is where they're trying to focus. Obviously, there's a lot of question marks because there's been so many misses. I could see that momentum turning around. You saw with Lightfoot, after Justin Scott went sideways, we got Lightfoot on the defensive line, different positions, but defensive line. Jaden Jackson went the other way. Stone's probably going the other way. I could see that turning around for Miami in the days to come. But, we'll see. All right, Pete. Let's wrap this one up because I'm about to get eaten alive out here. Joe Labrador wants to know which of the new coaches standing out. Derek Nicholson. Heard he's a stud.
Yep. I've heard the same. All right, Canes fans, like and subscribe. As always, stay tuned for that instant reaction podcast on JoJo Trader. D-Money's had it the whole way. He told you guys to look out for fireworks. He's telling you guys to keep it locked on CanesInSight because something else could happen in the near future.
Oh, hello. Wayne Straker. He's demanding I answer the last question. So let me ask the last question. What's your take on the progress of our wide receiver? Colby Young. To me, that's the stud. I feel very good about him. He's lost weight. He's got a lot to bring to the table. Faster this year. Restrepo, I think if he's healthy, will be a guy. Joseph, Ray Joseph will be a guy similar to Restrepo, smart, quick, strong. The guy that's going to make or break, I think, Jacoby George. If he plays to his talent, that room goes to another level. So that's for you, Wayne. Canes fans, sign up for CanesInSight. You'll get everything fresh as it comes out. And just keep refreshing, man, because there could be good news ahead. Go Canes.
Go Canes.